Good afternoon, everybody. Today is November 2nd. It's 4 p.m. and it's the time for the Glendale Water and Power Commission meeting. Madam Secretary, if we can please have the roll call.
Before I proceed with the roll call, Commissioner Lau and Vanessa will not be attending the GWP Commission meeting. Commissioner Flanagan?
Present.
Commissioner Jasmadarian?
Here.
President Kadikian?
Here. All right, next item on the agenda, Madam Secretary.
2, GWP Commission staff comments.
And to allow all my fellow commissioner an opportunity to speak, given that we are doing it with video conferencing, I will call on each one. If you have a comment, say comment at that time. This way we will avoid speaking on top of each other. Commissioner Flanagan, any comments?
Yes, thank you very much. I know it was 2 meetings ago that we met on the clean energy plan and the pathway forward that was put forward by GWP, and so it was great to be back together and to salute the council for approving, I think, moving forward with the three contracts that we also recommended. And I think it makes Glendale look really good. I think we'll be the largest virtual power plant in the country. That's pretty good for a relatively small size muni to pull off. So 3 cheers, I think, on behalf of all of us in Glendale, to be doing such pioneering work. I am curious about, and I don't know whether there'll be time for Craig or someone to comment on this from GWP, but I'm curious about the timing of the Sunrun contract. I've heard that it's a little delayed, or there's something going on with it. And just curious, do we expect to be out on the street with that program in a couple months or 6 months, or what's the timing there is a question I had. And then just lastly, obviously people are still reeling from large power bills with the heat wave that we had just in these past few months. And I know that there's I'm just curious what the fallout has been at the utility. I mean, most people just, they get a big bill and they think, oh my God, there's something wrong. And I think frankly, they were using, for the most part, just using a lot of air conditioning, and that jacked up the bill. But I was curious if there's any response from the utility as to have things largely smoothed over. Was there any problem with any of the solar billing credits, or was that all copacetic? So I hope I can get some answers to those questions. But overall, my most important comment is I think 3 cheers to GWP for moving forward with this virtual power plant. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Flanagan. I will provide an opportunity to staff to comment on the 2 questions that Commissioner Flanagan had asked, if possible. Is this the proper time, Doreen or Christine, on addressing the questions of the commissioner, or do we do it later? What's the proper procedure?
President Kadikian, now would be fine, and I'll be happy to cover the first question regarding the clean energy programs. And to respond to Commissioner Flanagan's question, it's true that we're working very hard to get all 3 contracts executed. With regard to the Sunrun, we're working to finish up the negotiations and bring that back to Council for formal approval once we have all of the terms and conditions nailed down. And we're expecting to have that done so that we can roll out the program in the first quarter of next year. So we're really working hard to get that done as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Ms. Godinez.
Thank you very much.
I will have to defer to Craig or someone else to respond to the question regarding the air conditioning and the solar credits.
Yes, if you could repeat that question, I would be happy to provide a response.
Thanks, Craig. The question was really have you had to address, or have you had problems addressing customers, our residents' concerns about their power bills given the heat wave? And has that basically subsided? I know people were shocked. I mean, I got a very high power bill. I think we all got a high power bill. So has that subsided? I did hear some grumblings. That's all minor, that there's maybe something wrong with the solar billing, or the solar credits, but I didn't notice that with my own system. So that's my question.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about what you bring up about the solar credit.
Okay.
as far as other issues, maybe we can talk about some of that during the CARES program update. I mean, the only issue that we've had from customers was the, some business customers had
Yeah.
questions about the demand charge and how that's calculated and those kinds of things. Not a whole lot, but some have.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Great.
All right, thank you. And Commissioner Jasmadarian, I would like to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you may have. or
I don't have
comments.
any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jasmadarian, and I do not have any comments or questions as well. I was not present here during the last month's meeting. So let's move forward to the next item on the agenda.
3, reports. 3A, legislative update.
I'd like to present Mr. Leo Zalian, who will present this report for GWP.
Thank you, Christine. Good afternoon, Commissioners. President Kadikian and Commissioners, my name is Leo Zalian, here to present you with the legislative update. It's going to be a very brief legislative update. I'm sure you've seen some of the slides from the previous time, but we can get started with slide 2. We'll get going. So just wanted to start with an overview of the 2021 legislative calendar starting for next year. As you know, tomorrow is election day, so please don't forget to vote. And December 7th is when the new legislative session starts. So this is usually just any of the new members that have been elected. They'll be the swearing in kind of ceremonies, and the real kind of legislative session starts in January. But any in terms of bills that have been passed, signed into law, they'll take in effect to January 1st of 2021. Next slide, wanted to provide a little bit of a highlight of the number of measures that went to the governor's desk. It started with about 2,200 bills, but it ended at 676 bills were sent to the governor's desk. It was approved from both houses. Only about 752 were signed into law and 102 are vetoed. So it's about 85% approval rating as usual from the governor's desk. Some major legislation by the governors, as you may recall, with all the COVID orders that are coming up from the governor's office and all the state reliefs. And one most important thing, the transportation electrification by 2035 by Executive Order 9720. That's a big one that's coming up. California Air Resources Board is actually working on that to electrify this transportation system by 2035. So we'll have more for you on that as the years come. If we go to the next slide, we had a number of bills that we were tracking, and many of the bills that were utility related, a few of them were pushed aside because of the global pandemic that's going on. So the two bills that I want to highlight that have been signed into law are AB 841 by Ting. This is adding additional infrastructure for supporting charging stations. As you know, this will be very important when the executive order goes into effect. So that's been signed into law. So CPUC is going to put together a report looking at us studying all the infrastructure needs for California. And the next bill I'd like to point out is SB 364. This will allow non-residential solar energy systems construction prior to January 1st, 2021 to be tax exempt. This is in regards to Proposition 15, which is on the ballot to be voted on by the voters. So now it's on the ballot. If it passed, then commercial solar will have an exemption as well. If we can go to the next slide, please. Only thing on the water side, we have AB 2560, which adds additional procedures for water quality notification and response levels. This was signed into law, and the three other ones that I see on the slide from last time, they did not go to the governor's desk. Next, in 2021, we have some potential bill topics that we'd like to just cover very briefly. As you know, as I stated before, a lot of the measures that were onto this legislative session was pushed back. So things that we might see next year from the water side will be something in regards to water resiliency portfolio, water quality, and wildfire preparedness. If we can go to the next slide, please. And in terms of energy bills for topics for next year, of course, wildfire issues will come up again, procurement mandates, microgrids and DERs, transportation electrification, and grid utilization are the kind of the hot topics that we see for coming in the next legislative session. With that, that concludes my report. Staff is available to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Leo. Okay, again, Commissioner Flanagan, I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions to Leo about the presentation.
Thank you very much, and thanks. AB 45. I know there's also money in there for schools for HVAC upgrades, and I don't know whether we have schools that need that or that are eligible, but I flag that to GWP because there is money there for HVAC upgrades in schools. And then in 2021, the potential bill for energy, what is procurement mandate? What does that mean? You're mute. You're mute, Leo.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So that's a great question, Mr. Flanagan. So that means that procurement mandates, anything that state, for example, the pump hydro bill that you recall that was presented to you last time around, if the state believes that procurement mandate, if pump hydro is a necessity, then they require kind of all the utilities to have a portion of that. For example, NextEra was proposing a 4,000 megawatt pipe hydro site. Utilities basically supposed to buy that fuel or buy that type of energy. So it's focused on a specific energy that utilities are required to procure.
And we would assume that would mostly be renewable, right?
Well, we hope so. That's something that the state is looking at. Kind of wind, usually solar, and pipe hydro are the top of the three that they're actually looking forward. Kind of to especially when the heat waves happened back in August, they're looking at possible opportunities to kind of bend the curve, as they say.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, and Commissioner Jasmadarian, I'd like to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you may have.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Leo, with regards to the SB 364, which is Prop 15, with regards to non-residential solar, could you explain to us with regards to residential solar, are they exempt already? There's no need to vote or pass any laws on it?
That's correct, sir. Residential solar is already exempt from taxes.
Very well.
Just for commercial.
Okay.
To be included in that as well.
Thank you, Leo. I do not have any further questions. With that said, let's move on to the next item on the reports.
Thank you very much.
The next item is 3B, GWP CARES Program Update.
And Craig Keenan will be presenting this report.
Okay,
Craig, you're on mute.
thank you. And may I suggest to staff who's managing the video, if we can have everybody on the screen at the same time, it's easier because people will know who is trying to talk and who is not, if possible.
Yes.
Okay, so I should be off mute. This is Craig Keenan, Deputy General Manager, Business Services. President Kadiki and Commissioners, I'll be presenting GWP CARES Program Update.
Give me one
Go to the
second,
first
Craig.
slide.
Give me 1 second. Go ahead.
So go to the first slide. So the GWP CARES program, the temporary bill relief program that we put together, it provides a one-time bill credit to eligible residential, commercial electric customers that have been financially impacted by COVID. The program was originally approved for a period July 1 this year to October 31st, unless extended. On the 29th of October, we've extended this program to December 31st. Customers can apply online at www.glendalecare.gov/GWP cares. You can go to the next slide. So as far as an update, since July 1, we've approved or issued a total of 14,235 bill relief payments. Approximately 12,111 were automatically issued to our current low-income program participants. About 2,124 have been made to online applicants. 636 payments were denied. We estimated 80+% of those were people who already received the automatic credit through the low-income program. We have about 19 currently in progress, and there was about 550 that failed to respond to our request for additional information. The next slide. So other bill support we've been providing is there's a moratorium on utility disconnects through December 31st, 2020. We've also suspended late fees through December 31st, 2020. We do have an additional benefit where customers can apply their deposits to their bills, and about 881 customers have wanted us to do that for a total of about $367,000 in bill relief on that. We do offer flexible payment plans. We do refer to other assistance programs such as the federal low-income heating light program. I think it's low-income heating energy. Yeah, I guess I should know that, but I don't. It's the LIHEAP program, though. It's a program by the federal government that allows you to apply a certain amount of money to your bill. We are also creating a repayment program that will allow a 12-month amortization payment to customers who have been impacted, so you can spread your bill out over 12 months in order to more easily meet your payment. Next slide. So as far as our marketing efforts with respect to the CARES, we've sent direct emails to over 95,000 customers. That's residential, commercial. We've sent specific targeted emails to our low-income customers and small business customers that had delinquent bills. We put message in on our envelopes and inside the municipal bill. Next slide. We direct mailed to 1,500 business customers. We've done social media posts, and we've gotten about 46,000 views on that. We have had articles in the city and GWP newsletters, articles in local papers, and a Chamber of Commerce newsletter. So that's the update on the GWP CARES program. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you again, Craig. And again, as usual, let's go ahead and give Commissioner Flanagan any questions, please.
Thank you. Yeah, Craig, thank you very much for the presentation. Just a simple question: is the participation lower than you expected? It looks like you've done a lot of outreach to tens of thousands, and other than the 20,000 automatic, we've only got like a couple thousand people that have participated. What's your sense?
We expected considerably more participation than we've had. We had budgeted about $3 million, and we're just approaching $1 million in bill relief. That's why we've extended the program. We're going to do more marketing efforts. We're also considering the possibility of changing the bill relief for business customers, because we've had a lot of inquiries about demand charges, especially from medium-sized customers, that the $150 was not quite enough to help them. So we're looking into those things.
Right. But just an awful lot of money on the table for anybody that claims they need it, right? Any resident could take advantage of this at this point. It's wide open.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jasmine, any questions?
Are there any thoughts of extending the program beyond December to the next
The way
year?
the program is written, we are able to extend it beyond that. For right now, we've extended it to the end of the year, and we'll evaluate, I'm sure, as we get closer to that deadline.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. And Craig, what will happen to money that does not get spent, whether they don't ask for it or what have you? What's going to happen with those funds? Could we recycle them somehow so that we provide them again to low income or what have you?
Yes, we can do that. This program is funded through our public benefit charge fund. The money is in the fund. If it's not spent, it gets used for other programs, either this year or in subsequent years. The money doesn't go away.
Okay. Very well. All right. Hearing no further questions on this, I will go ahead and move to the next item.
Next item is 3C, MYLAR balloons ban update.
Mr. President, members of the commission, I believe Doreen Martirosian is going to make this presentation. So I'll turn it over to Doreen.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, President Kadikian, commission members. My name is Doreen Martirosian, and I wanted to give you a very brief overview of the new MYLAR balloon ordinance that our City Council adopted. We do have a very short presentation for you. If we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So there are currently two state laws, California state laws, that govern MYLAR balloons or regulate MYLAR balloons. The first one is California Penal Code Section 653.1. And that section prohibits the release of MYLAR balloons into the air. It makes the first and second offenses an infraction. Thereafter, they could be charged as a misdemeanor. The other state law that we have is the California Business and Professions Code, Section 22942. That one requires a weight to be attached to each MYLAR balloon at the time of sale. It also requires permanent warning notices to be imprinted on the balloons. The notices warn the consumer of the dangers of the conductivity of the balloons when they come into contact with electric facilities, as well as they identify the manufacturer of the balloons. Next slide, please. On October 13th, the City Council adopted its MYLAR balloon sale ban ordinance. It adds Chapter 8.18 to Title 8 of the Glendale Municipal Code, and it prohibits the sale of MYLAR balloons within city limits. So we have included the pertinent section of the new ordinance. It's Section 8.18.030, and it basically prohibits the sale of MYLAR balloons that are filled with helium or gas, which is lighter than air. Persons, firms, stores are prohibited from selling such balloons within the city of Glendale. However, there is an exception, and that's subsection C. MYLAR balloons, which are filled with air only, not with helium, not with any gas that's lighter than air. Basically, they won't float when they're let go of. They're affixed to a post or another decorative structure. They're exempt from the ban, so they can be sold. Next slide, please. The violations of the ordinance are punishable by either administrative citations, which are just like tickets, or by a misdemeanor complaint, which is punishable by a fine of up to $1,000 or up to 180 days in county jail, or both. The administrative citations would be a fine of $100 for the first offense, and then $200 and $500 for the subsequent offenses within 1 year of the first offense. Next slide, please. Now we have an example of what the exceptions are. That you see some pictures of MYLAR balloons that are filled with air only. They're not filled. These are not filled with helium. They're attached. They're attached to decorative structures. It could be a post. It could be a stick. That the smaller ones that are used in floral arrangements. You can see some bigger ones. So those would be exempt under subsection C. Next slide, please. The ordinance goes into effect on November 13th. So that's later this month. GWP is doing outreach and education. The efforts include letters to local businesses. There are going to be display signs available should the businesses wish for them to be provided to them. The consumers can scan the code on the sign and it'll take them to more informational material, educational material. And we are basically asking our neighboring cities to join this effort. And our continued efforts include sharing our ordinance and our efforts with SCAPA and CMUA members. Next slide, please. And that's it. I told you it's a brief presentation, so we're available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen, for the presentation. And I will go ahead and give Commissioner Jasmadarian the first opportunity to ask questions. We'll switch around a little bit.
Just wanted to comment, actually, that I think this is great, and hopefully this will help the power utility, with all of the power failures and such that are caused by these balloons. Thank you.
All right. And Commissioner Flanagan, any comments or questions?
No, thank you very much for a very good presentation.
Are we also going to put some sort of a warning on helium tanks to prevent them used in filling up MYLAR balloons? Or could we suggest those as well, maybe? I don't know, the law has already passed, but maybe it would be prudent to put some sort of a sign on helium tanks, not to use them to fill up MYLAR balloons.
President Kadikian, that's not within the ordinance, but that's certainly something that we can discuss with the store owners. If they're amenable to a warning such as what you suggested, that would be a great idea. The more warnings we can get out there to the public, the better. We are making every effort just to get the message out, get the message across that these balloons are rather dangerous when they come into contact with electric.
Yeah, because I'm aware that they do sell helium tanks. You could just go buy them to buy your own balloons, and we don't want the consumer at the end to go ahead and fill those MYLAR balloons up as well. Okay. Okay, with that said, let's move on to Madam Secretary. If we can move on to the next agenda item, please.
4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The general manager may refer the matter to appropriate staff for investigation and report.
And Madam Secretary, do we have any?
Yes, we do. We have Mr. Herbert Molano. Mr. Herbert Molano, you're on the air.
Thank you very much. President Kadikian and members of the Glendale Water and Power Commission. My name is Herbert Molano. Last week, the City Council approved the selection of a new contractor for the installation of 11,000 linear feet of water mains, and that's roughly 2 miles of pipeline starting in 2021. But the city has 404 miles of water mains, and according to the city's CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the city experienced 20 water main breaks in fiscal year 2019. So I wanted to get a gauge of the state of the conditions of this essential infrastructure. I tried to get from the city's website a report that provides the public with the state of these critical pipelines, but I was unable to find one. I know that 10 years ago, we had a comprehensive report that told us the aging of the pipelines and the total cost of the capital improvements for the Glendale Water and Power infrastructure. I think that we need a similar comprehensive and updated report to discuss with the City Council, especially during the budgeting process. I'd like to request that this commission release an updated report that can tell us how much the City Council should budget every year for the next 5 or 10 years, so that the needs of the Glendale Water and Power can be fully appreciated by them for budgeting purposes and for the public as well. The Pipeline Management Program report on the Glendale Water and Power website is not current. It covers only up to February 2020. Still, that report does not provide a comprehensive view of a long-term annual plan. I would also like to suggest that the water utility operation statistics that is prepared every year, it's an annual report, that it be enhanced for better communication with the public at large. The general public does not understand fully what are acre-feet of water nor 100 cubic feet of water. We have in Glendale 73,000 dwellings, 30,000 residential meters for a population of 200,000. So I was wondering if it would not be better for us to have a report that gives us, let's say, the average water consumption per day for a single family unit. And I'd like to see a report on the daily average consumption per day for a multifamily unit. Some guidelines I found on the web indicate that about 50 gallons per person per day is a good target goal for water consumption for people living in multifamily housing cost. I wonder if that pertains to Glendale as well. So what should be the goal for Glendale as water consumption per person per day if we encountered a La Nina situation as weather forecasters expect for 2021? So ideally, the annual water utility report due in December should also have information that is clear and pertinent to the residents to evaluate and for the city council to be able to budget appropriately every year for all the capital improvement needs in the overall infrastructure. I hope that this comes before you and that you assign the staff to give us reports that are relevant and pertinent and significantly better than what we're getting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. And do we have any other?
No, no more calls.
Okay. Mr. Keegan, Keenan, is there anything you wanted to respond at this time? I know there was a lot of requests in that final thing that may not be within the scope, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity to respond if you wanted to.
Is that, I don't have anything, this is Mr. Keene, I don't have anything to respond to that at the moment.
Okay. All right. With that said, we'll move to the next agenda item, which is agenda forecast. Okay. At this point, I have a December 7, 2020 meeting scheduled. That's the only thing that I have on the agenda forecast. And it has GWP Commission election, president and secretary. And we have the renewable portfolio standard and power content label disclosure report. Fellow commissioners, let's start with Commissioner Jasmadarian. Any comments or additions you'd like on that item, on that date?
No additions on that date. Thank you.
Okay. And Commissioner Flanagan, any comments or additions you'd like to add on that for that date?
I guess it would be great to hear if there's any update on the Sunrun contract and the rollout.
Okay.
In December, that's a couple months from now. We could hear how that's progressing. I know a lot of people are excited about the program.
Okay, well, that's exactly 1 month. Christine, could we add that in there?
Commissioner Kadikian, President Kadikian, Commissioner Flanagan, we absolutely can, as long as there's at least two commissioners interested, which I assume, there'd be support from others. We could absolutely provide an update on that.
Okay. So I will be supporting. I'll be the second for Mr. Flanagan, so that is supported.
Great.
I do not have any other comments with regards to the December 7. And I'll give the decision to Ms. Godinez. Do we need to project any further, or is it the next GWP Commission will decide what's going to happen after that?
President Kadikian and commissioners, it's absolutely your prerogative. If you have things in your mind that you'd like to see as we go into the next year, we could definitely do that, or we could wait until the December meeting and then talk about them at that time, whatever you prefer.
Well, sometimes these reports take time to prepare and have it ready and be comprehensive. So I want to give an opportunity to my fellow commissioners. Either one of you could just speak up at this point and let me know if you want any other reports to come up, maybe in the January or the February meeting.
Well, I would just say that I would just say the same update, you know, and I think Christina is exactly right. You know, if there is an update, let's have it at one of those meetings on the clean power, the Sunrun contract.
Okay. All right. Hearing no further comments on the agenda forecast, and that's what we have at this point. There's no more items other than adjournment, and I will give it to my fellow commissioners. Anybody wants to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Jasmadarian. I will go ahead and second and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.